13,180. That's how many messages were sent between Glass and OnlyFans model Zoloft over the course of their 24-day Discord relationship. Messages that took on a different weight after she decided to break things off. Add to that the dozens of YouTube community posts, non-stop Twitter crash outs, and multiple alleged misconducts with minors. It goes on to paint a pretty bleak picture. Glass first began uploading Gmod trolling content on his current channel in late 2023, which he continued to do up until around May of 2024. He then pivoted almost entirely to VrChat trolling content. This was around the same time that other creators such as Proximity Chat were already becoming successful in this genre, and all things considered, VrChat being a more niche game in comparison to Gmod, he was doing fairly well. This would all come to a head on the 30th of June, where a user called Zilla joined Glass's Discord server. It quickly became apparent that Zilla was not a fan of Glass, following him into a voice call and accusing Glass of copying Proximity Chat's content. Now, it's a little silly to accuse someone of copying content when video game trolling has been popular on YouTube since the dawn of the platform. This wouldn't prevent conflict from sparking in the voice chat, however.
Hey Zilla, if you want to come in here and act like a fucking moron and get raped, I can rape you right now, but I'm sorry, I'm all filled up for today.
I'd love to see that.
I'm all filled up for today, buddy. My schedule's full. Sorry about that.
Despite this being an obvious edgy joke, albeit an escalatory one to put it lightly, Zilla would take this pretty seriously, going as far as to show his ID to prove he was 17, also he could say that Glass was threatening to assault a minor. Glass would go on to claim that Zilla was working with Proximity Chat to pull some sort of op on him. However, to this day, he has never shown any proof for this, and the likelihood of someone wanting to start beef just because you make the same genre of content seems unlikely.
And I'm sure Proximity and Zilla were working together, but will never own up to it. Mind you, this Zilla person has also started shit with other YouTubers such as Urghbla in the past, and if you want to know about that, you can go and ask him. Anyway,
this seemingly small tidbit of controversy would set the tone nicely for the story. Glass finding himself in completely avoidable conflict, crashing out, and overreacting when you should simply ignore the trolls or move on. Given Glass's occupation, you'd think he would know how to avoid something like this, but as you'll soon come to know, this just isn't the case. Following Glass's first major controversy, he would resume producing videos as normal. This would be until the 7th of August, where, while recording in-game, he would encounter two women, Zoloft and Daisy. And despite calling them mommy unprompted,
I want you to go away.
Can you whisper in my ear, please?
oh, sorry about that, mommy.
a few interesting things would happen in this encounter. Most importantly, the girl named Daisy would unknowingly tell Glass about allegations concerning him, while under the impression she was talking to somebody else.
My little sister, she sat there and she was like, her and her friends got groomed by them. Like that
Wait,
shit was
what?
actually like
By who?
really f***ed up. Yeah. Glass.
Wait, now tell me.
By Glass?
Yeah, that shit like actually was like really f***ing sad.
Wow, that's crazy.
Thinking this would be good content, Glass kept the conversation going. However, things would quickly get heated when Glass would explain that you need evidence to back up a claim this egregious, as well as threatening to sue her multiple times.
Been there, done that. No, I'm gonna sue you.
Sue me for what?
Well, you just slandered me.
Slandered you for what?
You just said that I was speaking to your little sister.
Oh, so you're Glass.
Yeah, I think so.
Sue me for what?
Slander?
For saying that I heard things?
Yeah, that's slander. You said you had the clip and you seen it too.
Now, shocker, the clips never existed. There were no 14 or 15-year-olds that Glass had spoken to, and this was seemingly all made up by Daisy. She would refuse to provide any proof of whatever she was talking about, and Glass would eventually be blocked. However, Zoloft would add Glass on Discord. Now, this is really where things start getting interesting. Looking at the DMs between Glass and Zoloft, it took less than 10 messages for Glass to request that she not leak their DMs. This is quickly followed up by Glass asking to tell her about his girlfriend's red flags, one of which included her alcoholism. Now, if you think this is a little insane given they had just met, on VrChat no less, you would be correct, and it just gets worse. Only a few hours after speaking with Zoloft through DMs, he would proceed to gawk at her NSFW Twitter, get high, and confess that he would be breaking up with his girlfriend. Zoloft says that she had recently broken up with her boyfriend, but still talks to him. Glass would not only tell her to stop talking to him completely, but say that she's the finest girl he had ever seen. He also confesses that he wanted to be a porn star and tried doing porn with his ex-girlfriend of 5 years, including posting videos onto Reddit, but it didn't go anywhere because she was unattractive. Following this up with an offer to help Zoloft. This includes making her a lot of money, promoting her content on Reddit, and even offering to feature in her content. Glass became infatuated with Zoloft immediately after meeting her, and relentlessly showered her with compliments throughout their conversations. You're so much more attractive than me. I'm the luckiest man alive. I adore you. You tell me a date and I will be in Indiana on said date. You're everything I have ever dreamed of. You're the girl I never thought I would find. I genuinely have butterflies 24/7 when I'm thinking about you. I know you're my soulmate. I can feel it. My heart isn't lying to me. You're so precious. I absolutely adore you and want to cuddle right now. I'm so comfy. This is what falling in love feels like. My baby, for real? To keep all to myself? My goth mommy? My princess? All of the above? He even talks about flying out to meet her in real life only 2 days days after speaking with her. You're gonna have to help me find a flight. I already started thinking about what I would need to pack. I adore you and will do whatever you want me to do with you. I want to spend time together and grow together and be the best boyfriend I can for you. Wow, eerie stuff. Only 4 days after meeting each other, Zoloft raises concerns about how quickly things are moving. Hold on, I don't know. I just didn't want to date again or anything right now because of the last relationship ended a week ago, so I'm just nervous and scared in general. I don't want to overwhelm myself because so much happened the last couple days. Glass responds by saying she is overreacting. I overthink a lot too, don't worry. I know life can be crazy sometimes, but the stuff we have gone through together so far, I feel so connected with you. Glass continues this with a pretty big paragraph, essentially saying how he's lucky to have found her, that she's special, and how she's amazing. At this point, if you're wondering, wow, this is really fast, especially for an online relationship, you'd be correct. I mean, even Zoloft picks up on this, saying, I know, I'm not gonna lie, I feel hella gaslit. So many compliments and love. That's why I'm so nervous and kinda anxious. She even explains how she feels rushed, how it's not even been a week, and how it would be difficult to focus on her work as well as a relationship. Glass just ignores this and makes the entire conversation about his personal insecurities and ends it off with more compliments. I'm just feeling unsure. Like, I don't know. I feel the stuff you're saying means you don't like me. I think we can manage being together and you can focus on working at the same time. You're everything I could ask for. You support what I do. You're not problematic. You're smart. You're pretty. You're funny. You're incredible. This pattern of Glass sending compliments and confessing insecurities would continue over the course of 3 weeks until Zoloft, yet again, expressed that she had issues with the relationship. This somehow ends with Zoloft both apologizing and conceding for some reason. But this is all pretty standard as time goes on. Let's jump ahead a little bit, specifically to the 30th of August, Zoloft's birthday. She was getting drunk and smoking while hanging out on VrChat, all while Glass was sending her messages such as, I want to provide for you. In general, I want to provide for you. I wish I could just give you all the money you need and tell you to quit OnlyFans and be happier. Now this message is odd for a few reasons, most notably Glass being a massive fan of Zoloft's NSFW Twitter and her OnlyFans. I mean, he was practically begging her to film with them just a couple of weeks ago. Zoloft would decide to ignore this message. This would become a bit of a pattern throughout the night and into the morning, Glass having to double text her a few times for a response. Eventually, he confronts her about being distant in their conversations. Zoloft, having seen this among his other pathetic displays presumably, decides it's best to end their 24-day-long Discord relationship. In doing so, she recites every concern she has raised during their time together, including not wanting to be in a relationship at the time, how their personalities weren't really compatible, she had just left her previous relationship, stress from Glass's community using her occupation as an insult, and how pushy Glass had been, particularly around her OnlyFans. Glass responds in a pretty psychotic way, even expressing wanting to do OnlyFans with her, despite having just told her that she should stop doing it so that he could provide for her. He goes on to make comments about meeting in person and asks multiple times if she even likes him, and sends more strings of really pathetic paragraphs. Again, this is all after she had just broke things off. Really odd behavior. The next day, he sends a large paragraph talking about how sad, lonely, and pathetic he is. Honestly, if you want to read this for yourself, go ahead. But given what I've already read from these messages, you probably get the point. The following day, Zoloft would spend drinking in VrChat with her friends. Glass saw this as an opportunity to generally be an obsessive freak, continuously asking her to hang out with him and not taking no for an answer. This got to be too much from Zoloft, and she began telling him directly to leave her alone. This was obviously ignored, followed up by Glass threatening to hurt himself and saying how he wants to die. Even saying if they didn't get into a call right now, he would hurt himself. A few walls of text later, and Glass is accusing Zoloft of cheating. I need to reiterate that this was a Discord relationship that lasted less than a month. To call this an overreaction would be a bit of an understatement. This conflict would result in Glass being blocked on Discord. However, a few minutes before being blocked, he had begun talking about Zoloft in his Discord server, and mere minutes after his block, he had began encouraging his fans to harass her, even going so far as to record himself joining her lobby in VrChat to verbally berate her.
Yo, it's crazy how you actually are a fucking clout chaser, and we just spent the last month all together and you said all that shit to me, and this fucking loser right here means more to you than I do.
This short clip was posted by Glass on his Discord server not once, but twice. Within 10 minutes, Glass would leak screenshots of their DMs into his server. Within 2 hours, he begins admitting to trying to manipulate her for some reason, and even began threatening her with doxing and life ruination. Within 3 hours, Glass had exported their entire Discord chat history and posted it to his server, which is how I have access to any of this in the first place. Around the same time, a friend of Zoloft's had been directing her Instagram followers to brigade Glass's Discord server, along with posting his face, which at this point was private. Glass responds to this and the Zoloft drama broadly with a video titled "Alcoholic fake e-girl leaked my face, later renamed to my VrChat wife divorced me and took the VR kids. In this video, Glass makes multiple interesting claims, the most important of which, in my opinion, is when Glass claims he said some manipulative things to Zoloft in order to test her empathy.
I am not the bad guy here. I am not ashamed of anything I said to you in the DMs, and I did say some things in those DMs in order to try and manipulate you as well into coming clean and telling me the truth by testing your empathy, in which you failed.
The only thing I can imagine this being in reference to are the DMs where Glass is threatening to harm himself post-breakup. I think it's pretty apparent just from the DMs we've looked at, his actions surrounding this breakup, and his follow-up now removed YouTube video, that Glass is an extremely manipulative individual. He refused to respect Zoloft's boundaries, and when she seemingly had enough, he tried to weaponize his fan base to target her and was threatening to hurt himself. This seems like pretty cut and dry, manipulative, if not just completely abusive behavior on Glass's part. But trust me, it only gets worse. Yuki is, or at least was, a friend of Zoloft's, and following the fairly public breakup with Glass, she would DM him on Discord in an attempt to see if Glass would treat her the same way he treated Zoloft. And he did. Kind of. They spoke for a handful of days, with Glass trying to get information from Yuki in regards to Zoloft, and Glass quickly befriended Yuki, saying that he would be there for her, call her cute, basically the same thing he did for Zoloft, just at a lesser scale. And despite claiming he didn't want a relationship at the time, he was often very flirty or suggestive in direct messages, even requesting to use a remote shock collar on her while he passes out. Oh, trust me, it gets better. During their time together, Glass would learn that Yuki is supposedly schizophrenic with a history of SH, and once he learned she had been sharing their DMs with Zoloft, he began harassing her about her SH, demanding she show him, and even requesting she put on the shock collar so he could use it on her, presumably as some form of punishment. In an attempt to get ahead of all this, Glass would post a preemptive response video on the 17th of September. He opens this video with a rant about Zoloft, claiming he's never done anything malicious towards her, yet she's still targeting him.
Really, this is what I want. I don't want people coming after me and trying to do malicious things to me when I've never once done anything malicious to this person, and yet she is threatening me. Okay, you know what? Because I'm about to get pissed. Zoloft has been endlessly threatening me since she ended things with me, by the way. She ended things with me. I found out she was lying to me about why she did it, and now she's constantly doing malicious things to me in order to try and get me canceled.
It's definitely debatable on whether Glass was malicious to Zoloft, and I'm pretty sure he would lose that battle given what was leaked from their DMs and his Discord server, but the absurd claims don't stop there, as Glass says that Yuki was threatening to cut his name into her, and admits that he was relaying all of these DMs to members of Urghbla's Discord server when he was in a VC there.
What's going on, guys? It's Editing Glass here, and what you're basically seeing on screen is my side of the DMs with the person that you've been seeing crashing out on the screen for the last 11 minutes and something seconds. And you see there's a distinct lack of DMs coming from this other person because they deleted all of them. I'm sure they, however, have them all. Not that they're going to show them because it's a bit embarrassing what they were doing, but they were basically pretending to crash out in the DMs, saying a bunch of things like they were going to harm themselves and all that. And so I had them send me voice memos, which they've since deleted, obviously for pretty good reason. And that reason would be that, I mean, I caught them out on pretty much everything that they were saying, and it was all a lie. But they were saying disgusting shit like they were going to cut my name into them or something, and or paint my name on the walls with their blood or something, and it was like very, very bizarre shit. I was in a group VC in Urghbla's Discord while this was all going down, and I was talking to them all about it, and I was basically just fucking with her at that point, because once I knew she wasn't being serious, I saw it as a joke, to be honest.
I mean, take these DMs as you will, but I'm not sure I would be proud of these, let alone want to brag about them in a VC full of my community members. Naturally, I don't think either of these situations really show Glass in a good light. He was threatening to hurt himself in one case, then encouraged someone to do the same thing in another. But realistically, nothing illegal happened yet, just a ton of scummy and cringe behavior, and maybe some light hypocrisy. Around 3 weeks after Zoloft had broken up with Glass, and a week following his response to the Yuki situation, a YouTuber going by Jumper12 Gaming posts his own video about Glass. In this video, he covers Zilla, Zoloft, and Yuki, basically everything I just recounted. Now, besides Jumper asking Zoloft some relatively leading questions and being over dramatic at times, I don't think this video has any massive or glaring issues that I feel like I need to point out. Glass made a response document to this video, which is 47 pages long. However, a lot of what he is saying here is more akin to a nitpick than disproving a false allegation or lies. Hours after this video drops, Urghbla makes an announcement in his Discord server talking about making a video video discussing Glass. An hour later, he gives up on this video and goes live with Glass to answer questions about the video or Glass drama in general. It's important to note that at this time, Urghbla was actually friends with Glass and quite protective of him, as sometime either during the stream or shortly after it, Urghbla is seen in a Discord call with Jumper defending Glass and poking holes in Jumper's video.
Just like the mood of that video where you were like asking her like these questions, like leading questions, like, did you feel unsafe with Glass VrChat? And she was like, yes. And then you like neglect the part where she's like puppy dogging him around for hours. Can we go back to what I was gonna ask Jumper though?
Yeah, I'm done talking. Jumper, you can talk to Urghbla. I'm just gonna sit here and watch.
Listen, about narratives, like I said.
Yeah, go back to the stands, bud.
About narratives.
Yeah, standing on your
again, I made the point about. I made the point about your video acting like Glass had her like chained to the radiator or something, and she was like a victim and unable to leave. That was a narrative, right? Or do you disagree with that? Like, I don't know.
I mean, you can take that as a narrative, yes.
Okay, but like it was so serious, bro. Like there's one point, I don't even know the exact part. Like if I watched it again, I could find it. But like just when you started asking like those leading questions and shit, and like asking her if she felt like in danger and shit. Like,
once this call had concluded, Urghbla decides to make a long post on his Discord calling Jumper a hypocrite and another saying that Jumper discredited his own video. And throughout this day, he would trash talk Jumper in his Discord server, seemingly trying to downplay what Glass had done. And while Urghbla never ended up making his exposed video on Jumper, Glass would attempt to in the form of a live stream. This stream includes the aforementioned My Response document, and looking back at everything, this live stream is probably the beginning of Glass's downfall more broadly. Within the first 5 minutes, he had spurged and banned someone for saying he looked ridiculous, and throughout the stream, he is seen constantly banning people from his chat. Glass also includes a counter to Jumper's subscriber count in the corner of his stream, thinking he was about to drop some bombshell that would ruin his YouTube career presumably. Jumper's subscriber count instead raised by 60 by the time the stream was over. Soon after this, Urghbla makes another large post in his Discord server about Glass, saying how he won't associate with Glass for an indefinite period of time. It's unclear what exactly sparked this, but if I had to guess, it was likely the train wreck of an expose stream Glass had tried to do the previous day. Glass responds to this by writing multiple massive YouTube community posts, crying about how much of a victim he was and all this. He then makes a Discord announcement trying to disavow Urghbla. Urghbla, likely feeling pressure from his online friends behind the scenes and the growing attention on what can only be described as Glass's infinite crash out, decides to make a video talking about why he will no longer be friends with Glass going forward. While there are a few funny tidbits in this video, let's just jump to the important part.
And then come to find out that he also not only was defending somebody that was a predator, but someone that he's been hanging around with that was a mod in his community, Swan. She was always puppy dogging him around on streams, just the two of them. On VrChat, he brought her around to my community and into VCs with me. She was on my ePal video with the fortune teller person. She was spending a lot of time with him. Like anywhere he went, she went with. Turns out she just turned 17 and lied about her age. Now, I will say it is unclear to me if Glass was aware of this or not, but they tried sweeping it under the rug. He didn't want anybody to know. And then everybody was like, where did she go? She disappeared all of a sudden. Well, now you know why.
Urghbla doesn't really allege anything here. He basically just says that Glass was hanging out with a 17-year-old a lot on VrChat, which he reiterates in a Discord post. I'm not blatantly calling Glass a pedo, I'm simply saying he was hanging out with a minor. An hour later, however, he does directly allege that Glass had been flirting with this 17-year-old, saying it's odd he released Zoloft's DMs and not Swan's. After this, Urghbla would speak to Swan and get a DM export of their Discord logs, saying it's obvious that Glass was sending messages that clearly involve sexual themes, which I'll leave you guys to be the judge of. He also includes a screenshot of Glass sitting next to this girl inside of VrChat. Despite the essays he was putting onto YouTube and the cope streams he was doing claiming his innocence, the knowledge that Glass had been hanging around a 17-year-old and potentially sending them explicit messages was definitely the beginning of his downfall. I mean, if your entire presence on YouTube is trolling creeps on VrChat and you turn out to be one yourself, your audience isn't gonna be happy with you. And things only escalated going forward. In a stream I did on the 21st of October, Glass would join and essentially admit to everything in regards to Swan, including sending her an explicit image of himself.
Just send me the screenshot of the group chat that we were in.
Oh, you mean the recording I took? Because I knew he was gonna kick us?
Go ahead.
Where I said that I sent Swan a dick pic. I said she's seen my penis. I never said I sent her a dick pic.
So to clarify, is it true that while you were under the impression that Swan was 18, you sent her a picture of your penis?
Yes.
Okay, and then she did end up being 17.
Yep.
In this stream, Glass also says that Swan didn't even have an ID, which made age verifying her impossible.
Yeah, ID verify with a girl who doesn't have an ID, who I already think is 18 and have no reason.
Glass has flip-flopped a lot on this, denying that he ever sent Swan any explicit images, going so far as to deny this exchange ever happened on other creators' live streams.
Bro, I'm talking about when you sent her your penis. When you sent her your penis, man.
I didn't.
You admitted to it. You admitted to it. You admitted to it. Dude.
Yeah, I lied about it.
There's group chats. There's live stream evidence. Bro, you can deny this all you want. You have literally admitted to sending Swan your penis.
Dude,
okay?
It doesn't matter what I've admitted to because it didn't happen.
So, you fucking delusional.
Most likely, if I had to guess, he slipped up on the stream and didn't realize what he was saying when he actually said it, and Glass would receive a ton of criticism for not checking her ID or otherwise age verifying this girl. And I mean, her lack of an ID altogether should have been a red flag, enough so to not pursue a relationship with her at all. There's also this Snapchat message that got leaked where Glass is talking to Swan, and Swan says that if they met up, she would have to keep her door open due to strict parents. While this is an insane message to receive from someone who also claims that they don't have an ID, to be completely fair to Glass, he says this message is what ultimately led him to cut off contact with Swan. Swan, I believe, is the girl where you're like, I'm paraphrasing,
Swan lied
obviously.
about her age, but I didn't ask her for like an ID.
The call that this happened, I believe it was with Urghbla, right?
Oh yeah.
Was he talking to you about Swan at this point or no?
I don't really care about, like, it wasn't really anything crazy. It was obviously a very strange message that she was sending me, which kind of led to me just not talking to her anymore because that shit's very fucking weird to me. Like, if you're an adult and your parents are still like controlling what you do and shit, I think that's very strange.
However, in a leaked group chat, Glass is seen trying to find a reason to ban her, effectively silencing her from speaking out. We can use racism as a scapegoat here. The only scapegoat we need was her lying about her age. Absolutely not. People think her and I had a thing. Glass likes to act like he was on the forefront of the situation, fighting to out Swan for lying about her age. In reality, he was scared of his misconduct being leaked and would rather have Swan completely exiled from his community than admit he had any wrongdoing with her. It goes without saying, Glass lying about this encounter didn't give him any good grace. And I can't fault people for assuming the worst given both his track record and the amount of red flags that he reasonably should have gotten here. Around this time, a girl in Urghbla's Discord server had just outed that Glass had removed her as a friend as well as deleted all of their DMs. She says Glass sent her more than one DP and explains how he never verified her age. She also states that she's 18 here and outs some embarrassing DMs of Glass. But if she's 18, what exactly is the issue here? Well, Urghbla makes yet another announcement in his Discord explaining that this girl had lied about her age as well, meaning this is another minor Glass had interacted with. And not only had he sent images to this individual, but he supposedly received them as well. He then leaks a screenshot to an exchange with Glass. They have my DP. Wait, I thought you didn't send it. Not to Kennedy, lol. Who did you send it to? Some random Twitter girl who showed me your pussy. There is no reason to show people my DP unless it's malicious. My shit is not small or weird looking or anything, so they do that, I'm suing 100%. Glass was claiming at this time that this girl had shown him her birth certificate as a form of age verification, before the conversation had ever turned sexual. He provides no solid proof for this, as in no real description of the certificate, what it would have looked like, date layouts, or even the saved copy that she sent him. This becomes a point of contention when Urghbla posts another tweet about this encounter. Glass can't even recall the month that would be on this certificate, only saying he is pretty sure it was May, refusing to recount any details about the certificate at all. This is all while this girl was denying ever being age verified by Glass. So did Glass ever age verify this girl? Well, maybe. We don't have any definitive proof like an actual screenshot of the birth certificate or anything like that, but we do have a few screenshots that heavily suggest something of the sort was sent, a mentioning of her birthday and her asking Glass to age verify himself, notably saying your turn, heavily suggesting that she had just age verified in some way. She also mentions deleting something because it makes her feel old. Now this again is not definitive proof. I personally think it's a little odd how uncooperative Glass was and how he refused to recall anything about the certificate. But at the same time, with the limited context we have of their one-sided DMs, it seems pretty likely that Glass did indeed verify this girl's age. She was seemingly lying and had edited some form of identification to reinforce that. Again, no definitive proof here, so take away from this what you will. There are also claims of blackmail here, but as far as I can tell, they're pretty unsubstantiated, as well as more women coming out about alleged misconduct. I want to mention Shroomzy because her case is particularly funny. Glass sent her a few voicemails, and I'll just let the audio speak for itself.
I don't know if you'll ever, hear this, but I just want to let you know that the past 3 weeks have been really amazing, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. Really had a lot of fun being your friend and all that shit, and yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to say one last thing. I genuinely do wish you the best in life and everything, and if you ever do need somebody to talk to, I'll always be there. I don't give a fuck what you did to me or how much you fucked me over or whatever. I don't care. At the end of the day, we're both people, both do stupid shit, and yeah, okay? I mean, that's all I really have to say.
More recently, on the 28th of April, Urghbla announces on his YouTube channel that there was a third minor that Glass had interacted with. 2 days later, he does a live stream showcasing these allegations. He shows 3 screenshots in total, one of Glass replying to this girl's Instagram story and 2 on Discord. The first being one-sided DMs, seemingly from a fangirl. Glass's side is missing, but it can be inferred some discussion about age was had, to which she said, "I'm 15." The second Discord screenshot takes place about an hour and a half later and shows Glass asking this girl for a selfie without makeup on, saying he's sure she is cute. Choosing to respond via Urghbla's public Discord general chat, Glass initially claims these DMs are completely fake. Urghbla responds to this with a clip from a stream 7 months prior where Glass is reading off these DMs word for word.
Yeah, I want to know.
I actually did get a message request, by the way. Let's see who it's from.
He probably doesn't remember what happened. Probably not.
I'm gonna read it out loud too. It's a goth girl, I think.
All right. Yeah, you're definitely getting catfished.
I don't know their age or anything. I'm not even gonna respond to it, but hi, sorry if this is really random, but I'm a really big fan of you and I've been watching you. Okay, I'm not gonna read it out anymore.
I think he went off script.
Sorry, I feel bad now. As I was fucking reading it out, they sent me a message that said I'm 18, and then they said LMFAO.
Glass, at this point, left Urghbla's server, and upon rejoining, states that he suddenly remembers the DMs, and that the girl actually said she was 18, not 15. This is reminiscent of the Swan allegations, where Glass was denying any wrongdoing until it was impossible to do so. So it definitely follows his pattern of behavior. Glass also jokes about wanting to start an OnlyFans with this girl after she stated her age. So if Glass knew she was 15, it goes without saying a joke like this would be pretty inappropriate.
I asked the Joy girl who DM'd me, are you going to be my next mistake?
Huh?
I'm not going to lie though, Joy, these pictures are not you, bro. There's no way you look like that. This girl looks better than fucking Zwo, you know what I'm saying? This girl could have her own OnlyFans right here. Yo, Joy, if you send me your ID verification and you're over 18, let's just like start an OnlyFans, you feel me?
But outside of that, this is literally all we have. 3 screenshots, a few clips, and a limp admission from Glass. Urghbla doesn't really show or say anything else. He does, however, allude to having more evidence against Glass in regards to this girl, but is seemingly holding it over his head. It goes without saying that Glass, a 26-year-old intentionally flirting with a 15-year-old, is bad. That is, if these allegations are even true. I mean, personally, my standard of evidence is a little higher than these screenshots stand alone. So I did some digging and there is a lot of circumstantial evidence. This DM was sent in October, supposedly when this girl was first making her allegations behind the scenes. This means that Glass knew about this girl for upwards of 6 months and still instantly denied the existence of these DMs. And like I mentioned earlier, this instant denial and then eventual admission is something we saw with Swan, where Glass accidentally admitted to his wrongdoing and then kept denying it ever happened until it was basically impossible to do so. I went ahead and asked Glass about this message exchange, and he claims that even at the time, in October, he didn't even remember this encounter. Remember, Glass had DM'd this girl in the middle of September. This message was sent in October, meaning this couldn't have been more than 3 weeks since Glass had spoken with this alleged 15-year-old. There are also similarities with how Glass spoke to this girl. If we remember Yuki from the beginning of this video, Glass asked for a selfie without makeup. He does the same thing to this alleged 15-year-old. So does this definitively prove Glass intentionally DM'd a 15-year-old and flirted with her? Not really. While it is extremely suspect how Glass responded, denying this ever happened instantly, all we have to go off of is circumstantial evidence. This isn't concrete. However, the similarities are there and it would be silly to ignore them. Circumstantial evidence oftentimes can be enough to prove guilt, and given the circumstantial evidence here, it's not looking good for Glass. That being said, evidence can be forged, people can lie, and this is not definitive. I have my opinions about this. I don't think it looks good, and if Glass really did intentionally message a 15-year-old, it puts the other 2 cases of misconduct into an entirely different lens. But until we have more to go off of, it's probably best to just come to your own conclusions with this one with some heavy skepticism. So what is Glass's response to all this been? Well, the opposite of what it should be, pretty much. He posts the largest tweet I have ever personally seen, just whining about the situation that he put himself in, mind you. Between his insanely reckless behavior to crashing out on both YouTube and Twitter, whatever reputation loss he has garnered has been completely warranted. I mean, who wants to be a fan of someone who is constantly complaining and self-loathing? But what would a YouTube drama be without copyright strikes? And oh boy, has Glass done a ton. First off, he's tried to privacy complain Urghbla for showing an AI AI-generated image of his face. Keep in mind at this point, despite having his face leaked, Glass had been streaming with his webcam on, so his face is public by his own accord. I would feel different if Urghbla was doxing, but he isn't. This is information that Glass has chosen to make public at this point on his primary platform, so this is just insane to do. Not to mention Glass striking down all of MK3's content on his channel, MK3 being a clipper of Glass, clipping down his videos or streams into funny moment styled content, with Glass being the butt of the joke. Now it can be argued if content like this is fair use, but I don't need to do that today given Glass decided to privacy complain this content instead of copyright. Initially I'd assumed it was due to MK3 featuring Glass's face in his videos, similar to Urghbla, but during a conversation with Glass, he alleges that MK3 included his home address in these videos.
Do you regret taking down MK3's videos at all?
No. No, that guy has doxed me in his videos every single time he's uploaded them.
When you say dox, you're specifically mentioning your face, right?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
no, actually, no. My address.
He's included your address in his videos.
Yeah, when I realized that, I actually didn't realize that for a pretty long time, and then like a few months after all that shit was going down, like I actually watched one of his videos for the first time, and I saw in the intro that my address was, and everything was just right there. I was like, what the fuck?
Do you have proof
Like,
of
no one
that?
told
Because
me
I don't remember
No,
seeing...
I don't have any of those. No, they were all removed by YouTube because of this. So,
Okay,
I mean,
I've never heard that before, ever.
But yeah, that's why I privacy struck them to begin with.
Now this would be completely insane if it's true. The only issue is this is just a blatant lie. Going through the archives on PreserveTube, Odyssey, and old streams where I watch these videos by MK3, none of them include his address. My best guess here is that MK3 mentions Kiwi Farms in these videos, so maybe Glass is saying that because he mentions Kiwi Farms that somehow means his address is tangentially in the video. Regardless, this is still a pretty blatant lie. And at the time of recording this video, this conversation was mere weeks ago, so it doesn't seem like, at least to me, Glass is trying to clean up his act at all. He's still lying to try to make himself seem like a victim in all this. And then there is Glass's supposed lawsuit. And oh boy, this one's good. My reputation on this platform has been irreparably damaged by Urghbla and his group of mods that harass myself and anyone who defends me by spreading numerous false claims regarding myself. If you're a part of my audience and have attempted to defend me, as any rational thinking individual would, you would know that you are going to be serially harassed and stalked by this individual and most of his diehard followers. So if you're wondering why I'm suing him, that's the shorthand as to why. There's a lot more to this post, but with it ending off having Glass yet again complain about his dying YouTube channel, I'm sure you can come to a solid guess as to what the majority of this was about. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, how can Glass afford to sue anyone given the state of his YouTube channel? He clearly isn't making enough disposable income for legal threats. Well, this question would be answered on the 20th of April, when Glass decides to go onto LolCow Live in an attempt to try out for one of their shows. No, I'm not joking, he really did this. And here's what he said about the state of his lawsuit against Urghbla.
Has anyone ever said that you look like Josh Block?
Yeah, they have actually, yeah. I've heard that a lot.
So like if you were to do a show, would you change your name to Sober Josh Block?
I'd change my name to whatever if you're paying me.
Why do you want to be on a show? Like, how do you see yourself being on a show?
I enjoy live streaming, to be honest with you. My channel's kind of taken like a downtrend in recent months because of some controversies I've been involved in.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay, what's your controversies?
Oh God.
Come on, are you a
controversial one? The worst one.
I'm not ashamed to tell anybody, but there was a girl who lied to my community about her age. She was 17 years old. She was saying she was 18. It came out. I exposed her for it. And then it was used against me by a fellow YouTuber in the same niche as me, who's like 3 times as large as I am. And he's just been slandering me for months and months and months on this shit.
What is your niche?
I make VrChat trolling videos, or just trolling videos in general, but
And so you
VrChat.
exposed that there was a 17-year-old girl claiming she was 18 years and up. And then he said that you had a 17-year-old girl in your community and he was trolling you about it? But you had no relationship with this girl?
No, we didn't have a relationship.
So you're being attacked by a guy bigger than you because you exposed that there was a 17-year-old girl parading as an 18-year-old?
Yeah, pretty much.
So Glass, who can't afford this lawsuit, has found himself trying out for lolcow Live, seemingly to make enough money to fund his legal case against Urghbla. You can't make this stuff up. And it doesn't stop there. Glass tries to explain his drama to Keemstar, and his response is absolutely hilarious.
This is what you're saying. The comments are saying it's still incredibly weird that you're 26 and you're being inappropriate with someone who you thought was freshly turned 18. Oh, so you were inappropriate with this person.
There was an engagement between the two of us. The amount of time that we engaged with one another in any way, shape, or form in terms of like friends or anything like that was only really a few days. And then she said some very strange things that made me uncomfortable with continuing speaking to her. But
were
yeah,
you flirting with this girl?
Yeah, we were talking. Yeah, we were flirting. She was on my streams and stuff like that. She was in a friend group that I was a part of.
Okay, so you were flirting with a girl that was underage.
That ended up being underage, yeah.
Okay. All right. For that reason, just we don't want to get involved. Like, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
The state of Glass's YouTube channel over the past few months has obviously tanked, and something I want to bring up is his constant quitting of his channel. In the aforementioned lawsuit announcement, he says, "I no longer need to do YouTube in order to survive. It's time for a well-deserved break." This is days before he goes onto lolcow Live to try to get onto their show. He also makes an even larger community post directed at another VrChat creator going by ratgrave57. I can't even screenshot this entire post, and a shocker to you all, I'm sure the majority of this post is just trying to guilt trip Ratgrave, who is a larger creator, to fight for Glass's redemption. At the end of this post, he says, "I might come back to content one day, but honestly, this chapter is one I don't really want to continue." A few days later, he makes an announcement in his Discord server shouting out political streamer Destiny, saying that his explanation of the term harassment will be useful for his content cop, presumably on Urghbla. These threats of quitting, I'm assuming, are some sort of cheap manipulation tactic to try and bait his audience into begging him to return to content creation, but that is purely speculation on my part. I'm admittedly leaving out a lot of Glass's response, but out of the multiple hours of response content and dozens of community posts and tweets, nothing important is said. It's just Glass complaining that people don't like him anymore. Glass isn't facing any heavy allegations outside of what I've already mentioned. He is, however, continuing to dig his hole deeper by crashing out on Twitter, Discord, and YouTube community posts. And to be honest, I'm skipping over a lot when it comes to the aftermath of this all, but you can really only get so much from reading out paragraph after paragraph of this guy trying to gain sympathy from his audience. To put it bluntly, I don't know if this guy's a predator or anything like that. However, I can't fault anyone super hard for thinking he is, given how much he's lied about. And to be clear, if the allegations regarding Joy, the third minor, are true, I would probably change my tone about Glass pretty quick. He is insanely reckless, doesn't know when to quit, and he has somehow convinced himself that he is the victim here, despite everything I've spoken about being caused by him. It's just a complete delusion and lack of self-awareness. Glass is a manipulative individual that clearly has his eyes set on YouTube as an occupation, and with Urghbla still making Glass streams, and Glass continuing to respond, make threats of a lawsuit, and recently allude to a content cop, I don't think this conflict is going to end anytime soon, and I don't think Glass is going anywhere as it stands. He's also still trying to interact with Swan inside of VrChat for whatever reason. In this clip, he's seen hiding in a lamppost and staring at her, and instead of leaving or otherwise removing himself from the situation, he allows one of his fans trying to bait Swan about her allegations against him. Not really sure what I could say about this that isn't obvious, but Glass should not be doing something like this, especially when he's trying to convince people he's innocent. This is just odd and obsessive and, most of all, unnecessary. Over my few weeks of researching this guy and handful of times talking to him, I can definitely say he sucks. I don't see him changing anytime soon. He has continued to lie and play the victim card, likely in a desperate attempt to salvage whatever dying YouTube career he still has. Anyway, I've rambled enough. I'll leave a few videos in the description by other creators who have covered Glass in case you want to watch more about this guy, but outside of that, let's end this video off with something special.